Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Guardians of the CLE podcast tonight. We are live across social media. I am your host, James Ellifritz, and with me tonight, my co-host, Derek Dimmitt. Derek, welcome back to the show. And are you ready to talk some Guardians baseball here in 2024 in January when it's Cavs season and they're in Paris? The Browns are in the playoffs this weekend at Houston, but we're still talking Cleveland Guardian baseball. How about that?
It's always baseball season. What's the old saying? What do I do in the winter? I look outside and I wait for baseball season. I forget which former player a long time ago said that, but it's always kind of ring true for me. Baseball's my first sports love. Just hope springs eternal. It starts in spring. You know, you're out there in the summer, smell the grass, smell the hot dogs. It's perfect. And here we are in 30 some degree weather outside, but I'm ready to crank up the hot stove, even if uh, I almost said Shapiro, goodness gracious, Antonetti and Chernoff. Even if Chernoff and Antonetti, they can't quite turn on the stove, you and I are going to heat the stove up for them.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. We were trying to put together some show notes for tonight, here being the first one of our 2024, leading into hopefully, some spring training baseball, which will start pitchers and catchers report February 12th, which is not that far away, considering we just had Christmas, New Year's, uh, NCAA national championship football game. It's kind of hard to believe, Derek, that we just stack so many events
Right.
one after another that anymore it seems like there isn't a long off season, especially when you're a Cleveland fan, because right now with the Browns go playing deep into hopefully deep into January, and maybe into February if we're blessed. Um, it's just it takes so much. It used to feel like the off season was so much longer for
Right.
baseball, But right now, with what's going on in Cleveland coming up here on January 20th, Guards Fest. I know a lot of people are familiar with that, and hopefully you've been able to take your family down there or just get down to attend. It's Guards Fest is player appearances, coaches, all kinds of activities down there. They have a baseball field where little ones can play. Um, you have last year, I know we had Tyler Freeman and Will Brennan just walking around the crowd, taking pictures, signing autographs after some of their autograph sessions. But on hand, supposed to be 35 players, which is a record on hand for autographs and photo opportunities. I saw some of those photo opportunities are with gold gloves. So it's kind of neat what they're doing. They're changing a few things up in order to add a little spice to it to get you down there. Jose Ramirez is the big name that's been confirmed to be there this year. So it's great to see a majority of the team is going to be downtown Cleveland at the convention center here next Saturday. Derek, you have any plans to try to get down there?
I don't think I'm making it this year. I have gone before, back when they had it at the stadium. Haven't been to it since they've moved it to the convention center, but yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it this year, but probably next year, definitely. It's a great time. Like you said, there's a lot of family activities for the young ones, and get to meet the players, and not just the players that are on the team now, but some of these guys that we hear about a lot, or we see in Akron or Columbus. Get to see them up close and personal. I know the year I went, Lindor was still in Akron, and he was the next big thing, and getting to see him there in that interpersonal setting is just a unique opportunity, and the Guardians do a great job with doing that for their fans. I know when I was young, they used to do the caravan They would go, different malls in the area. Never got to go to one of those because it was kind of an exclusive thing, but doing it at the convention center, there's the space for activities, there's the space to have people all come together and kind of that rite of passage. You mentioned pitchers and catchers reporting on February 12th, but with the Guards Fest, it just kind of gets you into that baseball spirit. And like you mentioned, we got the Cavs going on right now with playoff hopes. We have the Browns in the playoffs this Saturday afternoon down in Houston. Go Browns! But and
Brownies.
you and Clarence have been doing a great job. You've been going live around the fourth quarter of the last couple games. Not sure if you guys have that in store for this Saturday, but it's a great chance to react live as the game's finishing up. And, we all have thoughts. We're all armchair quarterbacks, and, to be able to hop onto Facebook and YouTube and Twitter or X and kind of react live with your fellow compadres and fans, that's a great opportunity. So if you're watching now and, Saturday afternoon comes about, or Saturday evening, probably by the time wraps up, but, a great chance to hop on here and talk some Browns live reaction with James and Clarence. And yeah, but Guards Fest, a great opportunity just to meet the players, and they a lot of them sign autographs before the game, but they're in that mindset of getting ready for the game. Here's a chance to kind of get them just. They're just guys, they just want to chat. They want to meet people, meet the fans, and it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I would say that it's probably for those of us that have never been to spring training, including myself, it's probably as close to spring training as far as you getting up close and personal with the players and the coaching staff that are available. Sometimes they have alumni. I've not seen alumni in the list. Does not mean there won't be any there. But just please remember, if you're heading downtown to Guards Fest on the 20th, Saturday the 20th, from 8:30 to 12:30 is the season ticket members. That is their time. Tickets, if you're a season ticket member holder, are $5, and then the afternoon session is open to the general public. That is a $15 ticket that you can buy online. Some of the things they're doing down there too, Derek, is with your purchase of a ticket, they're doing some promotional prizes or giveaways, if you will. There's going to be 4 lucky winners this year that will get the opportunity to throw out a first pitch it and tickets to that game. So that's part of their giveaway. Also, there's another one where there's 2 tickets for opening day, but not only do you get to attend opening day, but you get an opportunity to hold the flag on the field for opening day. Now, you want to talk about a special moment. Derek, we talked a little Browns here. When I moved back from Tennessee, my aunt and I got the opportunity through my other aunt with the Cleveland Browns backers to go out and hold the flag on the Browns field for the home opener that year at Cleveland Stadium for the Browns game, and it was
Wow.
it was so awesome. You get there at like 9:30 in the morning to check in. You go behind the scenes. We were in one of the auxiliary locker rooms. We went out on the field. You do a walkthrough where you're going to be with the flag. Then you get to hang out on the sideline a little bit, and then you come back, wait until it's time to do your thing. So I can imagine a lot of that's probably the same. I think, don't they open the outfield wall? I think in left field,
Yeah, yeah,
and then bring the flag out
yeah,
that
right
way.
about
So
there.
I'm sure you'll get the opportunity to go behind the wall and see more of Jacobs Field. I've never taken the Jacobs Field, Progressive Field, but I've never taken that tour. I know you can tour the stadium, and I need to do that. I want to be able to go through the back and the locker room, stuff like that. That'd be a good time. But that's something definitely interested in. Autograph sessions that are going on there too. Some of them are sold out. Check out Cleveland Guardians website for the sessions that are sold out, and then the ones that are available. They are listed by time, so that'll help you plan out your day. So we talked about a little bit about alumni that were potentially going to be at Guards Fest. But let's talk about some former players real quick. We definitely want to give a shout out to, I know one of my favorite players, Michael Brantley, just recently announced his retirement as a Houston Astro, but we all know him here in Cleveland as a Cleveland Indian for many seasons, and a really good player. Um, I really enjoyed what I liked about Michael was just his style of play, and I know he's called Doctor Smooth, and it's so true. He's like Randy Orton is inside the wrestling ring, right? He just looks like a natural out there, and I guess it helps when your dad played in the major leagues. But yeah, what's your thoughts on Michael Brantley, and how much of his career did you enjoy in the Indians
Huh.
uniform?
Yeah, it was, he was the player to be named later in the CC Sabathia trade to Milwaukee. Matt Laporta was this, golden goose egg, can't
Yep.
miss prospect, first baseman, power hitter, and then player to be named later. And it gets overlooked so often that, you know, you hear player to be named later and you think some guy twiddling his thumbs in A ball that might make it to double A or triple A if he's lucky. And Michael Brantley came on the scene and played 10 great seasons for the Cleveland franchise. And it was sad to see him go. He was, kind of in that same realm of Victor Martinez, or trying to think of other guys that were Cleveland Indians through and through, and you knew what you were getting when Michael Brantley was in the lineup or in left field. You're getting, a solid hitter. Maybe not the best power hitter in baseball, but he could find a gap. He could put it out in right center, left center, play solid left field, run the bases well, and like you said, having a father that played in the league in Major League Baseball, he kind of grew up with that, and that's something that not every play. It's not a for sure thing. If your dad played in Major League Baseball, you're going to be a star. We see it with Vlad Guerrero Jr. and quite a few actually in Toronto, Kevin Biggio and Bo Bichette. But
Yeah.
yeah, with Brantley, just a great career, and he went to Houston, and it was after all the mumbo jumbo with all the cheating scandal and stuff, but
Mhm.
he kind of brought this steady hand, or whatever you want to call it, to Houston, kind of helped calm the waters, sort of, because the baseball world looked at it as this is a pro's pro, and that stuff isn't happening on his watch. He's gonna go
Right.
down there. He's gonna make sure that you know they're dotting their i's and crossing their t's, and that's not to take anything away from the job that Dusty Baker did as a manager, but sometimes you need that manager on the field, and I think that's what Michael Brantley was for much of his career here in
Yeah, and it's
Cleveland and then in
yeah.
Houston.
Derek, and it's a shame that he was unable to be a big part of that 2016 um, World Series team. Having that previous injury of diving in the field, hustling to make a play, injuring his shoulder. And that's the thing. When you say Doctor Smooth is his nickname, when you think of that, a lot of people think of his swing, and it was clean. It was ball. If he's down to two strikes and the ball's on the lower outside of the plate, what's he doing? He's taking it to the opposite field. You know what I mean? It was one of those, take what they give you kind of hitters. And that's what I really appreciate about him. But also as a fielder, I mean, his outfield assist were fantastic. His motions, I mean, it would almost look like a quarterback type motion, that where you're trying to be real fine and precise on your throws, because he was so accurate throwing the ball to second base or to third base or even home plate. So very underappreciated, I think, detail of Michael Brantley's career and his talents that he had while he was in Cleveland. So yeah, definitely glad we got to speak a little bit about Michael, because it's just well deserved on Cleveland. I know we don't get the players like we have with Jose and his contract, to be able to play as long as we would love players to stay in Cleveland. And unfortunately, Michael obviously best for his family. Had took the Houston money to go there, got a World Series ring. So best of luck to Michael, and I hope we get to see him floating around Progressive Field now that he's retired. During the season when you have alumni that do come back and you hear him in the booth, and you get to hear him talk and find out what's going on their life now, but also about their time as a Cleveland baseball player. So that's just great news. More news I want to talk about too, Derek, tonight is the Hall of Fame ballot list came out, and the key guy that I want to focus on, there's two names that are pretty much shoe-ins that was mentioned was Joe Mauer and Adrian Beltre. But the Joe Mauer one's the one I want to focus on because the other name on the list that Cleveland fans know about is Victor Martinez. And it's just ironic that, like I said earlier, Derek, we're trying to find things to talk about with Cleveland baseball. And this comes up again. Just another one of my favorite players, Victor Martinez, a switch hitter, a big guy that can hit for average, played behind the plate, played first base, played some DH. What do you remember most about Victor's time as a Cleveland Indian?
I think when I think of his career as an Indian, what comes to mind for me is just the steadiness at the plate, whether he was batting left-handed or right-handed. He could do it both. And just to have that from a catcher's position, not easy to do. We've seen it now with Carlos Santana. We've kind of been blessed in that department with, great catchers, but also guys that could hit. And I mean, you mentioned Joe Mauer. He definitely comes to mind, but it seems, and we've also seen the other side of it, where you have great catchers, but it looks like they've never picked up a baseball bat before in their life when they're up there. So to have that,
those, haven't we? In fact, we just brought one back. Unfortunately,
we loved it so
from
much
a
we brought
clubhouse
him back.
standpoint, yeah. Austin Hedges being back, the bat, I'm not so much at the plate, but behind the plate, welcome back, Austin Hedges.
Yes.
My memories of Victor are I'd say some of the key ones. The 2007 playoffs where we go up 3-1 in Boston in the ALCS, looking like we're going to go to the World Series. I have a picture, I think it was from the Plain Dealer, that I have framed. It's in one of my frames down here in the Cave of Champions. But Victor Martinez just coming around second base, hand in the air. And it was just, that team was so much fun. We had Kenny Lofton back. I thought they were going to make a run. Unfortunately, the Red Sox came back on that series, and we were unable to go to the World Series. But it was just a fun time to be an Indian fan, especially for Victor. Like I said, I'm partial to the bigger guys that can switch hit. And but another key moment, and it was the last moment that he had as a Cleveland Indian, was the day he was traded. So I don't know if you remember back then, the interview they were doing with him after the trade. And I think he had sunglasses on, if I remember right.
He had sunglasses on. He had his hat pulled down. And you could see how much being an Indian meant to him. It came up through the system. We talked about Carlos Santana, Lindor. A lot of these guys, they become part of the Cleveland organization when they're 16, 17 years old, and it's all they know when it comes to America. And then one day they're traded, and sometimes as fans we lose sight of that these are people. But I did want to bring up a comment that we received from Ed in Columbus on our YouTube screen here. Victor was good, but Kenny Lofton, Nober, Vizquel deserve the Hall of Fame before Martinez, and I tend to agree. I think that Victor was a great player, but it's not the Hall of Great, it's the Hall of Fame. and Kenny Lofton and Omar. I know Omar's kind of had some off the field issues, I guess we'll call them, but yeah, Kenny Lofton definitely his stats were there, and he didn't seem to have an issue with anyone, but for some reason the voters opted not to include him. So he fell off pretty quickly, but yeah, this is I mean, it makes me realize that I'm 1 week from 34 when players that I remember watching as I grew up are now on the Hall of Fame ballot. But that's neither here or there. But
Just wait, it gets
yeah,
worse as you get older, like me.
yeah,
So,
right, right. Yeah,
but no, you have
Flacco's
to.
like 5 years older than me, and everyone's like, "Oh, Joe Flacco's like grandpa," and it's like, well,
You're like, wait a minute. Yeah, no kidding. Trust me, I know. I don't want to be I'm not a grandpa yet, and
no,
hopefully not for a little while. Don't want to be a
right,
great grandpa either yet. But no, to stay on the ballot, you got to have 5% of the vote just to remain on the ballot for the next season. So that's why this is kind of like a shout out to Victor's career because it's not likely that he's going to remain on the ballot, is what MLB Network is
right.
reporting. Um, but what was neat that I saw in there, they were doing a comparison between Victor's career and the other person, Joe Mauer, who's I don't understand how he's a complete shoe in when I compare Victor's numbers um, to Joe's. So games played. Let me pull this up here. I wish I could pull it up on the screen, Derek. Um,
Yeah.
but games played. So Victor played 1973. Joe Mauer played 1858, but the career averages, Victor was 295. Um, Joe Mauer 306. Home run totals, Victor has a huge edge, 246 to 143. RBIs, Victor 1178 to Joe Mauer's 923. That could be maybe because Victor played on some better teams. I know I'm not trying to remember how many playoff appearances Mauer had with as a Twin. I know there was a few in there,
Yeah.
but games played as a catcher was, Victor got some more breaks by being able to play first base and DH, but like 43% of his starts were as a catcher. Mauer 49%. But the OPS, Victor's right up there at 815 to Joe Mauer's 827. So we start comparing some of those stats. The home runs, there's a gap. RBIs, there's a gap. Um, the average, he's right there. Martinez, he batted over 300 8 different times. In fact, he finished 328 at one point, and Joe Mauer actually won a batting title at that same batting average. So it's a good comparison statistically, but why such a gap to get into baseball hall? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, don't get me started on voting for the Baseball Hall of Fame. With us living here, right here in
Right.
Canton, and getting to experience the entire week that is Hall
Mm-hmm.
of Fame week, the NFL and the Pro Football Hall of Fame relationship is super strong. And I love the fact that they have solid Hall of Fame classes by totals. It's been a
Right.
while since I think they've only had maybe four in a class. What's the minimum? Isn't it four? And then the max I think is seven. But baseball, hell, they can have no classes if they want if nobody gets
Right.
enough votes. It's ridiculous. I grew up a Dale Murphy fan as an Atlanta Brave, and he's not even on the ballot. Um, I was a Mark McGuire fan as far as outside of Cleveland sports. Those were two of my favorite players that I really enjoyed watching, and I just don't get why the Baseball Hall of Fame does not celebrate its players in the same manner that we do here in Canton, because it's such a joy to watch these guys that had awesome careers come in with their families and their teammates and their coaches, and I'm talking high school coaches. It is so much fun to experience that, and I just believe there's more major league players that deserve that honor, and I just don't. You mentioned about Omar not getting in, and being some things that came out that was at least said outside after he retired. Um, but I tell you what, you can line up guys that are a Hall of Fame now that had checkered past. So there's no perfect angels out there. They may feel like perfect baseball players, so to speak, with some of these amazing Hall of Fame talents they had. But I don't know how you feel, but it does. It just
Right.
burns me that there is not. There's so many players that I just look at that should be in that Hall of Fame that were multiple time All Stars, and they're just not. And Ed brought up two of them, Kenny and Omar. What do you have more feelings
Right.
about that? It burns me that baseball doesn't do it. That Cooperstown could celebrate it. Isn't it out in the middle of nowhere? There's not a
Right.
whole lot going on there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Other
Like
than
a
the baseball
farm
hall.
farm area. Yeah. Yep.
But
Yeah.
I'm
Once when
sure
I
we could.
was yeah, I was about 8 or 10 maybe, but yeah, it's kind of out there in the middle of upstate New York, but yeah, it there's a lot that baseball, can do both in honoring its past with the Hall of Fame, but also celebrating their current stars. And we'll kind of transition into what another topic that we were going to discuss tonight is baseball broken. Um, the Guardians have made few offseason acquisitions, and the Los Angeles Dodgers have made many and spent over $1 billion. And we're rubbing pennies together to bring Austin Hedges back. And it's difficult as a Guardians fan, and we're preaching to the choir to anyone that's with us right now that it it's hard to get excited. I mean, here we are a month from pitchers and catchers reporting, and if you love baseball, you're excited. But to a casual fan that may not be the biggest baseball fan, what's there to get excited for? Dollar hot dogs, fireworks, a bobblehead here or there. But if the product on the field, isn't top top level or whatever, it's hard to get excited for. And sometimes off-season moves can be boom or bust, and more times than not they do bust. But it's still something to kind of get excited for. And right now, if you're talking Cleveland Guardians potential moves, the biggest move talked about right now is trading your Cy Young winning starting pitcher that's been your ace for the past half decade. And that's supposed to get us excited because we might get a handful of top 100 prospects from the Dodgers or the Yankees, or you name these big markets, and kind of leaves people that want to see baseball grow, kind of leaves them with an empty feeling. I don't know where you stand on that, James.
You know, you mentioned about wanting to feel kind of like energized to go to the games, right? Because the product on the field's worth spending the overpriced parking, your
Right.
ticket, the crazy stadium prices on food and all that stuff, right? But I think
Right.
it's such a family sport to attend in the summertime, get out in the sun, and just spend time as a family. And they've changed the pace of the game, thankfully, but it's still a more leisure type event to be to, but or to be at. What I would say is that with the attendance from last year looking like it's improved, like all those different promotions they were doing. What is the
Mm.
you could buy standing room only tickets like per month. I forget the name of the promotion
Yeah,
and
yeah,
what it
I
was
forget
called.
that
But
one.
yeah, that
I
that
know
was
they
a
did
that was a popular hit.
yeah, I know they did a few, and I took advantage of a few of them where, like upper deck tickets. I think at one point it was like after Jose Ramirez had a great start or a great week or was named Player of the Week or what have you. It was $11 a ticket, and yeah, you're in the upper deck, but you're still there. And I remember the upper deck was full for those games, and it felt like how it was when I was growing up, the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, even the run there, in the later 2000s with some of those teams. That that's what you want when you go to a ball game. You don't want to go to a ball game and there be 10,000 other people there and you're spread across this vast space. Um, and I think even the players either admit publicly or at least private, it's more fun to play in front of people. That's why people want to go to the Dodgers. That's why people want to go to the Braves, because those markets, it's more than just the game, it's the atmosphere.
Mhm.
And if the atmosphere is missing, you know, a restaurant can have great food, but if the got wood paneling and stuff's falling off the walls, it's not a place that people are going to go to.
I would say, you look at the renovations of the stadium and the decreased seating that they've
Mhm.
had with, I don't know what it's going to be now. I just remember when
Right,
they got rid of all those seats out in the upper deck and right field. I'm like, damn, I mean, we've had a lot of playoff runs here. We've
right.
won quite a few divisions. Why? I wouldn't, as a fan, I want those extra seats for when it
Hmm.
is playoff time and everybody wants to be at the ballpark. But you look back at the '90s when we sold out 455 straight games. It was crazy. I remember talking on the last episode with Mel. It would be Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and people would be lined up to buy Indians tickets at the Cleveland Indians team shops at the mall. But I think the
Hmm.
overall
Right.
population in the area has decreased. I know they're doing a lot of things downtown Cleveland with different apartments, and I love the East Fourth area and other places that they're adding to around downtown to get people to move downtown and live downtown. But it just doesn't seem enough to be able to fill up our stadium. But if you remember back in the Nike promotion of Chicks Dig the Long Ball. Well, that team of the '90s, when you open up a new stadium and you got a murderer's row of
Right.
home run hitters, that's a good. It's to open a new stadium. One after what we were playing in before, of course we're going to show up. But then give us a team that, in '94 there was the strike, so we missed out on that. Who knows if we could have had a playoff run there? Most likely, yes. Um, but with the attendance back then, we're never going to match that, unfortunately. So we're not going to have
Right.
minor league size ballparks, but it's Progressive Field. I don't think will ever be what it was before with all those seats. But I tell you what, the electricity when it is a playoff game, like when Oscar hit that home run in that playoff game
Right.
the previous season, absolute electric. That video from like dead center field from, I don't know if it was a building across the street, and hearing the energy and
Yeah.
seeing all that on that home run, it was just amazing, man. We're blessed to have a good ballpark. That's one of
Yeah.
my favorite things to do is, and I drive my family nuts that I try to plan vacations around ballparks. In fact, I'm already planning one this year. Looking at the last week in June, I believe the Guardians are in Baltimore the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that week. So I'm looking. That's right around our vacation time. So I'm looking to say, we might have to take in a game at Camden Yards on the way down to potentially the Outer Banks or whatever that we're going to do.
Yeah.
So always got to plan that baseball game in there somewhere, right?
Yeah. I remember last season it was making a trip from like the Florida Panhandle over to Houston or something. I know the
I was going to do
Guardian.
that, Eric. I
Yeah.
had it set up. We ended up canceling about 2 weeks to go. And the game I was going to go to was the Valdez no hitter. Because
Oh,
yes, because I'm trying to. It was going to have to be that game for me to drive over there in time that morning to take in the game because that was a night game, and then I would have stayed the night and then come back. But yeah, so when even though he no hit our team, the opportunity to actually be in a
right.
ballpark for a no hitter after all the games I've been to in my lifetime, oh my gosh, man, that crushed me. So that was a tough night being a Guardian fan, but it was also a tough night being a baseball fan. But that leads us back into what our discussion is baseball broken? I know that there's so many comments out there saying baseball is broken. Look at how much money the Dodgers are spending. Look at what we're spending. I'm looking at it from like a player's standpoint and from the league standpoint. If you got that kind of money, that the owners are willing to throw around, like with the Shohei Ohtani contract. Um, to me, from a player standpoint and the players' union standpoint, they're doing pretty damn well for themselves, right? But as a fan, yes, I can see
Right.
where it hurts. But I'm going to tell you this right now, and this is my point. Major League Baseball and within the way these contracts are being put out, I'm glad players are getting paid, right? Because the owners are making money, but with the players getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
What kills us is that yes, there's no salary cap, so we don't. There's like almost no hope to keep our players. Thank God Jose did what he did. We owe him so much as a fan. Every time we go to the ballpark, and should be thankful that he's in a Cleveland uniform. But my point is, I think Major League Baseball is almost daring us to not show up, so to speak.
Right.
And when I say that is, they're still counting that this tradition of baseball and taking your family to the ballpark, if it's Progressive Field, if it's Lake County Captains game, if it's the Akron Rubber Ducks game, down in Columbus, I need to get to a Clippers game. It's part of our tradition. And the boys of summer. And it's just what we do as a society. And it's not everybody. I know some baseball fans are diehards, but then there's the other ones that think it's kind of boring. Whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. When I take my kids to the game, do they know everything that's going on? No, they don't. They're they're not as into it obviously as I am, and I don't expect them to. But my point is that that's what I'm saying when I say baseball is not broken. It's because there's so much love and tradition and the history of just baseball in general and what we do in our and how we plan our summer. How many of us are like you said, just going maybe just because it's fireworks night or a bobblehead. Some people are going for bobblehead games because they can sell them and basically cover the cost of their ticket and
Mm-hmm.
their parking and taking a game for free. So some people
Right.
do it like that from a business standpoint. But I just don't feel it's broken. However, it does suck for us as a Cleveland fan, where I have said where it feels like we're almost like a quad A team because you have
Mm.
single A, you have double A, you have triple A.
Right.
It almost feels like we're the quad A because we can't compete financially with the Bostons and the New Yorks and the LAs
Mm-hmm.
and the Chicagos. Hell, even San Francisco, the Giants, they're not
Yeah.
small market, but they've had a hard time drawing free agents. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but how do you feel on it? I know I'm kind of in the minority on that conversation, but do I want like a salary cap? Yes, I'm not debating that. But how do you feel about it?
Yeah. I mean, I know they've talked about implementing maybe a salary floor, for some of these teams like the Pirates and Guardians and Marlins, some of these notorious teams that are kind of basement dwellers when it comes to salary caps or, you know, um, I don't know. Obviously, like you said, the players union isn't going to say, you know, the salary cap is this when that would limit the player's earning potential. No union would sign up for that, regardless of what the industry or what have you is. I don't know. I think if we had the answer, we wouldn't be saying on a podcast. We'd be right there with Rob Manfred,
Oh, it's like Mike
having
Greenberg
dinner.
used to talk about on ESPN. He would say, how he wanted to be the commissioner of Major League Baseball and he wanted to make all these changes. And I don't know if some of these changes recently were anything he agreed with, but he always talked about we should move some World Series games back to day games. And I'm like,
Mm,
I don't know about that. We have plenty of day
right.
games through the regular season. There's something about, and I remember, as a kid, when the first time when our team, we won our league and we got to play against the rest of the league's best players in a one game like exhibition at the end of the season. And it was at our KFC Knights of Columbus field. And we got to play under the lights and they called
Mm,
your name. That was a huge deal as a kid to get that
right.
opportunity. So night games and under the lights, it's just man, it's just so special. But of course, in Cleveland, in October, end of October, and potentially in November, if you're in the World Series, Um, you want to play when the weather's good, let alone
Right.
whether
Yeah.
it's light or dark. But yeah, I enjoy the night
Right.
games. I hope that's something that would never change. I don't even like when there's some of the playoff games that are at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon in the wild card round. I'm at work and I'm like
Right.
trying to watch, pay attention to the game and still get work done. It's like, hey man, I can't take off for all these.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, then we talked about the Cavs earlier. Tomorrow, at least here in Ohio, tip offs at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Like how are we
Right.
supposed to watch that? Like, yeah, it's eight o'clock at night over in Paris, but how are we gonna? We're gonna have to rely on Tim Alcorn and having a great radio call of the game, which that's a discussion for another day. But I I think as Cleveland fans, we're truly blessed with who we have and who we've had here in the past for radio announcers or TV announcers for our teams that have local broadcasts. Because you listen, I have Sirius XM, so sometimes I'll flip it over to another game, and you're listening to their announcers on the radio, and it's just like pe- people listen to this like this guy's no Tom Hamilton. This guy's no Jim Donovan. This guy's no,
Yeah.
Joe Tate, Tim Alcorn. We're blessed. Like
Oh,
our teams may not always be the best, but those that are telling the story, we are far and above the best, I think.
yeah. I mean, we get just so used to it, and um, and it's like one after another. I miss Joe Tate, and Joe Tate, somebody that called
Mm-hmm.
Cavalier games but called Indians games, called the Len Barker
Right.
perfect game when
Mm-hmm.
it was on the local television on channel
Yeah.
43. But then he also did, and you might have, since you covered some games over at Mount Union,
Mm-hmm.
Joe Tate used to call some football games over there for
Yep.
Mount.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
he's just a legend.
Yeah, and I think that's how he got his start in Iowa or whatever, calling like small college football games, and that's why he enjoyed doing Mount Union games so much because kind of made him feel back back to his roots. And I know I remember when he retired, someone had asked him, how do you know it was time or whatever, and he said that it just got too global, like. And this was in the LeBron times, and the one preseason, I think the Cavs went to China or whatever. And, you know, as an older guy like Joe Tate was, and his health kind of got the best of
Yeah,
him. And, but it's one thing to go from Cleveland to Houston for a game, but to go from Cleveland to Hong Kong or Beijing or for this week Paris, that's a lot on your body. And
yeah.
yeah, but
I, I think it
sorry
was a
for the
lot of him.
sidetrack there, but
Yeah, I know, but Joe was, he still had left his mark. He's not, Tom Hamilton or Herb Score, but as far as locally,
right,
definitely he's right up there. And I always remembered it when it was Gund Arena into the queue, but when they moved Joe up top near the club level
right,
when he was calling games there instead of down on the floor. I always thought they did that because maybe he parked in the deck next to it and then just kind of came across the
right.
bridge and then could go right there. It was easier, but I don't know. But yeah, definitely getting off
Yeah.
topic a little bit. But yeah, love Joe Tate. But we love Joe
We,
Thomas
we
too.
love Joe
And
Thomas too.
yes,
Go Browns.
yes. So I know we're towards the end of the Guardians pod, but you know what? Brownies play Saturday at Houston. Are you pumped up for it, Derek? I know you have some. There's some Bengal love in your household, but how you feel? Ah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. Changing the background. We took over. Clarence
Yes.
isn't here with the Brown and Orange Weekly. So yeah, definitely check us out on @Brown Orange WKLY and follow us. We're going to be doing some coverage, most likely Sunday. Clarence and I are talking whether or not we're going to go live during the game, but yeah, definitely excited for the Browns. But yeah, piggyback on though from the very beginning. Let's recap Guards Fest coming up January 20th. So get downtown, the Huntington Convention Center. There is parking right across the street. It's not too far away. I don't remember what parking was. I think it was pretty reasonable. But yeah, to get down there, check out your Guardians, your future Guardians. Take your kids down, have a good time. Plenty of activities. You will not be bored. I promise you that. So get down there and support our Guardians. I don't know if the proceeds of the Guardians will go towards any free agency, but that's not what it's about. It's about going down there and just having fun and spending time with the players. So good switchback. I like it. That was great.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah,
Get
definitely
back to
continue
why
to
we're
follow
here.
us on. What's that? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Derek. I'm all fired up for the Browns game.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll just go right into Brown and Orange Weekly right now because I'm ready to go. I know it's only Wednesday night, but man, I've been thinking about it every night since it's been so long. I know we won our game in Pittsburgh and then lost the game in Kansas City during the COVID year, but this season feels like something different. And so I hope Guards fans that are Browns fans, you're enjoying this moment. If you're a Steeler fan, too bad. I don't care. So sorry for you. But yeah, definitely follow your Guardians, but also follow Believe Land Media. We're working on a lot of different things that potential news coming up. We're going to have some meetings and cover some different things that are going to be changing for 2024. Hopefully more live content for you, more interaction. So we want you in the chats. But definitely hit your like button if you're on YouTube. Subscribe to Believe Land Media channel on YouTube, but follow us also on Facebook, Instagram, X, and also we have a Twitch channel that we're going to be adding to as well. So we don't have a lot of followers there. We just created the account. So if Twitch is your thing, please get on Twitch and follow us there. Derek, any closing words here to end the Guardians of the CLE podcast? The first one leading off 2024.
I'm ready for baseball. I'm pumped for the Browns. I'm excited for the Cavs and as their season progresses, but it always comes back to baseball. And you said it, February 12th, pitchers and catchers report to Goodyear. And soon after that, we'll have spring training games. And hopefully we figure out if it's going to be Valley Sports or WUAB, the CW, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, whomever is going to have broadcast rights for the Guardians. We'll watch them there. We'll get down to Progressive Field. We'll go to Canal Park. We'll go to Lake County. I mean, baseball is alive and well in Northeast Ohio, and we won't let a cold stove keep us from being happy.
Yep, and always remember, be happy. We have a franchise. We're not Oakland.
Right.
In that unfortunate situation. But,
right.
Thankful. We've went through that Browns move. Some of us that were around and at that time. And, always be thankful that we have pro sports here in the great city of Cleveland, Ohio. So I think that's going to wrap us up for this week. Like we talked about, follow us on social media, subscribe to our channels, check us out, Spotify, Apple, Odyssey, to follow the podcast and throw out your ideas to us, please. We want that. We want that feedback from our listeners. What do you want us to talk about? What do you want to hear? Get in our chats, interact with us. It makes it more fun for us because we do this for the love of the game, and we appreciate you that you even consider listening to what we have to say and our opinions about our sports teams. So thank you, everybody. Derek, thank you for co-hosting tonight and running doing some producer stuff behind the scenes. So really appreciate you. And at last, keep following Believe Land Media for more of your local sports content as we are covering high school basketball and other events too. High school wrestling. What else? Anything else?
Yeah.
Bowling. I think Kevin had a bowling article as well too. So yeah. Keep checking us out. And Derek, I'm going to send us out since we were talking Joe Tate and let everybody know. Have a good night, everybody. That was awesome. I love that.